I'm so scary, aren't I? I just absolutely terrified you. Happy Halloween! This week's video is coming out a little bit early because I wanted it to come out for Halloween. And Wednesday is November 1st, which is, a little past Halloween. And I specifically wanted to come out before Halloween because, this is gonna be kind of useless to anyone watching it after Halloween unless they're already getting ready for next year's Halloween, which I dig, or if you have like a Halloween party in November, or if you just feel like, dressing up throughout the year, because I am totally for that. Today I am doing a project that I've wanted to do for a long time and I've just always sort of put off, and that is making fairy wings. The materials for this are pretty simple. You get your wire, which this is armature wire, and some cellophane. This one has somewhat of a holographic effect, so it sort of shifts color depending on how the light hits it. And basically all we're going to be doing today is forming this wire into the shape of our wings, covering it with the cellophane, and then melting it down. Simple enough, right? We'll find out. I wanted to make these for like a year and a half now, and I've just always put it off, and now I'm going to just do it because it's Halloween and it's time to do Halloween things. So to the floor. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is create an outline for the wings. That way we're not just completely, winging it. Haha. So I have some paper, I have some tape, I have a pencil. We're just gonna kind of sketch out an outline, and then we can go from there. I'm going to zoom out the camera so you can actually see what I'm doing. I think this will be a pretty good size for wings. They're quite large actually, so I'm hopeful that the armature wire will stand up to it. I included some extra kind of supports throughout, so hopefully they will be able to stand up on their own. The other thing that I did was sort of circle the different areas where I plan to attach my wires, just so that I kind of have that note for myself of where I'm going to be continuous and where is going to be a shorter piece that's just going to kind of connect. So before my dogs completely trash my template, I am going to go ahead and start laying out my armature wire. I'm only going to make the one template. I'm going to basically do the whole thing twice with my armature wire, so I get 2 identical wings. Let's go! So this is the moment in the process where I regret doing something so large, and it's not super complicated, but I could have made it simpler, because while we have the first, of the wire laid out, we have to basically duplicate all of this and try to make it match as closely as possible. Before I get to that though, I need to basically pick all of this up and start sort of wrapping some of these bits around so that I don't lose where they go, and then we can do the whole thing again. I'm not really sure what the best way to do this is. This is one of those things where I did not think ahead as to what the best method would be. I think if I just sort of pull up little bits at a time and just kind of get the wire wrapping started, it might not turn out terrible. So this is going to be a slow, kind of tedious process. I'm going to do this off camera and come back to you when I have both of my wings. So I'll see you in probably a couple hours. Okay, so my fingers hurt. So if you're going to do this, I recommend using tools more than I did, because I used my fingers for most of it and it was painful. But now we have our little fairy wire wing skeleton things. So what I need to do next is connect them and make it possible for them to actually be worn. So right now they're just sort of disembodied wings, which are cool in and of themselves, but basically what this will entail is taking some more wire and basically just making like a U shape. And that U shape will also be what sort of sits inside clothing so that these can sort of sit outside. It doesn't make sense yet, but it will. Once that is done, then we can go ahead and do the whole, cellophane thing. So I'm gonna attach these to each other and then we'll start laying out the cellophane and seeing what works, because I have a few different ideas in mind. Okay, wait. So let's ignore for a fact that the metal is really cold on my back. This is great, actually. So the wings kind of droop a little, but I think that's to be expected just with the way that my clothes are baggy. I think that's not too difficult to adjust once they are on. Wow. I don't know, I'm really excited because most of the time if you go like to the store, like a Halloween store, and buy wings, they are so small, human-sized wings. The wingspan is my arm span, which is really cool. It's definitely one of those things that I think if you sort of strap it down a little bit better, I literally just sort of threw this into my hoodie, so it's like in a really baggy situation. It'll work really well. Maybe if I cross these, it'll hold that up a little bit better. So the next step is to roll out the plastic. I'm gonna just sort of lay down a layer of this, and I'm going to use a spray adhesive just to have something that it can grip to. Lay a wing down on top of it, and then kind of roll it back over so that the wire is sort of sandwiched between two layers of this. And then I'm going to try to use a hairdryer to melt it. I've seen a lot of people online use hair dryers and have good luck with it, so that's what we're gonna start with. And if that doesn't work, we'll try something else. So, back to the floor. Okay, so this is where we're at. We've got one wing done. We have one more wing left to do. The spray adhesive helped out a lot with getting that to stay together. So up towards the top, I don't know that you can really see it very well in the camera, but some of the plastic did disconnect from itself. I think it's fine because it's still somewhat melted to the wire, and it's not really super noticeable, but just as a sign of where it might be a little weak, where it could be stronger. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go do everything that I did on this side with the laying down a layer, doing the spray adhesive, then doing the other layer, sandwiching the wire in between, and then heating it up with the hair dryer, and then trimming it all out so it is actually to the form of the wing. We're gonna do all of that on this side. We're gonna go to the final reveal right now, so you don't have to live with me through all of that, and then I'll come back and we'll kind of wrap this whole thing up. So I'll see you soon. Okay, let's talk about these. First of all, I love them. They are pretty. They are lightly distressed because, I mean, it's Halloween. But also, distressing things hides a lot of sins. So one of the issues that I had coming out of this project was that I ran out of my roll of cellophane. It was something that I was a little concerned with when I started, and then that concern came true on the last wing. I had enough to completely cover the back in one piece, but then when I went to flip it over and do the front, I had to sort of patchwork it. It turned out fine. It's one of those things that it's noticeable if I tell you about it, but if you didn't know, would you have really noticed? Some tips. First of all, I don't recommend doing the butterfly style. I love them. They are adorable, and I love the butterfly style, but it uses a lot of wire, and they are huge, which I love. I mean, obviously, if you want huge and you want butterfly style, do it. But if you're just wanting wings for the sake of wings and you don't care about the style, there are other styles that you could go with that would use way less material and be much less cumbersome. 100% recommend using the spray adhesive. I originally thought about not using it because I've seen a lot of tutorials online that they didn't, and it turned out fine. But the spray adhesive is really what's holding this together. I would also probably recommend using a heat gun or an iron rather than a hairdryer. I think the hairdryer worked fine enough. One other thing to note, because these are kind of holographic, the cellophane changed the color of the wire. Not literally. Like inside, the wire is still that sort of aluminum color that it always was. But right now, through the plastic, it looks more coppery. I'm not mad about it. I kind of like the look. It gives it more of an aged vibe. But that is something to be aware of. If you're going for a particular aesthetic, it might not look the same. The easiest way to figure out what it's going to look like is to just hold up cellophane to your metal and you can kind of see how that color has changed. Some people combat it by wrapping their wire in like a white painter's tape, which I thought about doing, but one, I don't know that I actually have painter's tape of the white variety. And two, I didn't really want to spend that kind of time. I think that it looks fine the way it is. I think the other reason for the painter's tape though is because some of the ends of the wire can be a little bit sharp, and so to kind of protect and cover those makes sense. If I were to do this project again, first of all, I would probably change up the stylization. So this is more of a butterfly style wing, which is super cute. It feels like it's like a human-sized wing. Like if I were actually functionally using wings, this would be the size of my wings. But I would probably play with different styles of wings, like a dragonfly or a bat wing. In the future, I also want to play with materials. So this is obviously cellophane and wire, which I think is the most straightforward style of wing, but I do think in the future I want to try something like an angel wing. I also think if I were to do this again, I would make sure to have 2 rolls of the same style of cellophane, just in case I ran short like I did today. I might also play with different colors. So this is more of a holographic, which I think is kind of a standard that you see like at most Ren fairs for people that do their fairy wings. But they also come in like red and blue and maybe a gray black. I would also say if I were to do this again, I would try to use tools more because I use my fingers for all of the wrapping and that hurt. My fingers are in pain. As far as last minute Halloween costumes are concerned, for something that looks like you put in a lot of effort, I think this is a good way to go. The paper template was definitely a good idea. And there's no way that the wings would have looked even remotely similar had I tried to freehand this. So I know you're thinking, Kendra, Halloween is your favorite holiday. How is it that you've waited this long to come up with your costume? And the thing is, I did not. I've had my costume for about a month now. These are for somebody else, which also means like you can make wings for somebody else. You can have a wing making party before you go to a Halloween party. It could be a good time. Yeah, that concludes my video here. I hope you enjoyed it. Happy Halloween, happy spooky season. I am going to be dressed as Beetlejuice going out with my husband because it's our anniversary. So I hope you have a lovely spooky holiday and I will see you next week. on Wednesday. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. Tell me what you're gonna be for Halloween, or if you're not gonna do anything for Halloween this year, tell me what your favorite costume in the past has been. Also let me know what you would like to see me do, make, or talk about in the future. And until next Wednesday, I will see you later. Bye-bye!